Patrick?
Patrick Walker, that was
Hey, Patrick.
Cowboys.com. What was your overall grade and impression of Matt Overton in replacing McQuaid this week?
He did a really good job. We got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but true to veteran composure, we kind of talked about it on the sideline and said, okay, we're back on track, and we kind of fixed a timing issue. And then the rest of the way, I thought he was fantastic. On point with the field goal snaps and very well on the punt snap. So, yeah, it was good. I was happy with it.
Todd Archer with ESPN. What happened on the snap? Because it didn't look like Brian was looking at Brett. So
Yeah.
So make a dummy call on him or something?
No, not at all. It's just, it's timing issues to work out with new snappers. Same thing on our punt, even with cadences. So I think he was anticipating or ready for snap, and it just didn't come yet. And he threw it, because he's had quite a few operations in his life. So it was just an anticipation, I think, error, and just a timing thing we got to work out. But we fixed it, and the rest of the operations were really good.
Michael Gillikin, Dallas Morning News. Dorrance just really went through that A gap without any sort of obstruction there. Was it just a great jump, or some confusion from the Rams on an assignment, or what led him to be so free on that?
Yeah, I can't answer for the Rams, but he had a great get off. I mean, his get off was so good, and that's some of the drills we do out of practice. We have competitions with our get offs. Luke Gifford did a great job of manipulating some things a little bit. So there's a lot at play, kind of the game within a game that you can't see on tape and the fans can't see from the stands that happen out there, sometimes verbally, sometimes communication-wise, different stuff. So it was really a simple rush, but there was some stuff going on in there that was really cool with some veteran guys. But his get-off was great, man.
As valuable as Dorrance has proven to become on defense, how grateful are you that he's still there at your disposal on special teams?
Very grateful. The cool thing about Dorrance is this is how he got started. And I think when guys get started on special teams as backups early in their career, they have a respect for helping out as much as they can when they become a starter. And I just respect the heck out of DA for his willing contributions anytime we need him. I mean, he's ready to go in on punt if something ever happened to any of our guards or tackles. He likes going in on punt return. I don't ask really anything of him on anything else, but if you ever needed anything and you asked him, he would do it. And I'd make sure I don't take advantage of that. But gosh, what a fantastic player.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Sure, Brian Anger, for second straight week, there seemed to be a punt that he would want back in terms of just, was it a miss hit again, or what was the issue on that second half?
Yeah, we went punt left, and he just mishit it. So the week before, that was more in the shank world. This one was just barely missed. I mean, there's such a difference between, having the nose down and having the nose up, having the nose in, having the nose, So Brian's so good with being so precise, and he just missed it. It was just a little bit nose up, and we went punt left. And he's really been very, very consistent and very good this year. We missed one last year, and we missed one, last week, and we missed one yesterday. But all the rest of the punts, I think he's been right on top of it. But there's two glaring ones that you're like, gosh, I wish we could have those back. But as far as his consistency from week one, it's been outstanding.
When you say it was his drop, is that what you're referring to?
It's drop. So, he gets the ball and he puts the ball out there. There's just intricate things on punting, and just being here compared to here changes the trajectory of the football. And the nose stayed up, which means it comes down short. Their punt return did a good job fielding it, and if we just turn the ball over, we got CJ out there ready for that ball. So just a barely miss.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did Kelvin on that play does a really good job of changing his trajectory, where he doesn't anticipate, obviously, the punt going that way, but
Yeah.
how well do you feel he reacted in order to?
It was incredible because he expected it, one place, and the way he runs at such a high speed. I mean, the G-force he must feel pulling his body going that way. And I didn't really see when it was live exactly who made the tackle on the sideline. I couldn't tell if it was Brillo or. But then I looked at the tape, early this morning and then last night, and I saw it was Fat that ran that huge hump. I was like, man, that was a very impressive tackle coming from the gunner on the opposite side of the field. to make that tackle. And then the last tackle in the game where Kelvin, just missed and then got back up and retraced and, tackled that guy was 2 really good tackles by him.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas
Yeah.
Morning News. Have you grown closer with Fat over the last couple of weeks? Because he's obviously spent a lot of time with your group, and he's obviously made some impactful plays.
Yeah. Have I grown closer
Yeah, with him, yeah.
as far as like relationship wise,
Yeah.
or to be honest with you, it started a long time ago. So I think from the very start, I've had a real special affinity for Fat, Kelvin, I'm sorry, for whatever reason. Some people are like, you're just drawn to, and he was one that when we first got him and trying to find a role for him and make him feel important. I think from the start, I really had a lot of respect, and I could recognize the potential in Kelvin. And then this past spring, I spent a lot of great time with him and his girlfriend and his baby, and I think developing the relationships just naturally is something that is important to do, but it's also just kind of fun to do. And then when you get on the field and you get in the heat of the battle, then sometimes those things kind of really bind, groups or people together. And so, I'm glad you asked that, because Kelvin's really special to me and our whole group. And he's done such a great job, and I just respect him a lot for the things he's gone through, and and what he's doing for our football team. It's been fantastic.
I'm sorry, did he lean on you a little bit when he was going through those difficult times over the summer?
I don't know if I'd say that. I think I just reaching out to him, making sure he's okay. He's got a wonderful gal. He's got a wonderful young boy. Met his mom for the first time a couple weeks ago. A great mom. So there's just really cool things about him. And if he just keeps doing a great job, which I have no reason to think he won't, he's going to have an outstanding career. And I'm happy to be a part of it at the early grounds for him, because he's got a long way to go, and he's going to do a great job.
Hey,
Babe Loffenberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio. The punt yesterday, the return by Powell, I guess, just remind you of Turpin's return against the Giants, and how difficult is it when that ball is, not turning over and dies, because obviously CJ was about 15 yards
Yeah.
past you.
Yeah.
So how difficult is that to cover that?
It's exactly Turpin's against the Giants. The nose stayed up for Turpin, and it brought him to our sideline to our left, because it was a lefty punter. Brian's was nose up, brought him to the right sideline because it was a right-footed punter. And those are huge, very hard catches. So their guy's catch was a very hard catch, because a gunner goes right past him as he's making the catch, just like Kelvin. So it's a great correlation between those two catches. And they're, Turpin and their guys really good returners. And it's a tough catch, man. It's a tough catch.
And then difficult to cover as well.
And difficult to cover when it comes up short like that, because you're anticipating distance and direction, and when that changes, you have to veer off course, and that puts a strain on the cover. Yeah, cool stuff that happens. That so much happens during the course of the game: fake punts, block punts. A returner calls for a fair catch and blocks us, and a couple of punt returns, a couple of punt covers. I mean, it's a snap that wasn't anticipated. So special teams is wild.
A different type of question for me, but that's the second time I think you've worn that hat. Is there any meaning to it?
Oh yeah, I got a couple in my office. There's a lot of meaning to it.
all right.
I probably got to keep that one in house.
There you go.
There's some, there's one big piece, and then a couple surrounding pieces, and there's words inscribed on there that we kind of our thing. We handed out hats and some different stuff to them. It's kind of cool, kind of like a special teams thing.
What are your core principles for Turpin when he's at the 10, 15, and there's a punt, and he's got to gauge, should I let that go? When do I fair catch it, or when do I return it?
Yeah, we usually put the cliff at about the 8-yard line for him. And it's easy kind of when you can line up on the 8, because you can know if I go forward, I can either fair catch it or return it. If I got to back up, I really want to let it go. And then there's times where you can return the football. So he's got great instincts and great ball catching. So I don't stress or talk too much about all that. Just say, hey, if it's behind you, let it go. But also, with the Rams guy, if you call for a fair catch, you can't block. If you don't call for a fair catch, then you can block. or you want to pull them away from you by faking where the ball's going. So there's some game within a game with the returner world on that.
On Brian's 67-yard punt that went into the end zone, I don't know if this situation even exists, but it's a net of 47, which generally is a win. Is that a situation where, like, hey, if you can pile into the end zone, we're fine by that, or are you guys still trying to place the punt like that, inside, 10-yard line?
Is that one of the first ones where it was a 67 gross, 47 net?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, the ball was at the 33-yard line. I wasn't really even thinking possible touchback here. We just said Brian just hit a great, deep, high ball, and didn't even consider going for a touchback. So, if you could net 47, you take it, and sometimes you just hope for a bounce to kick sideways, and it's a 61-yarder out at the 7-yard line. And so, that was one of the best punts I've seen in a long time. And that's what Anger's been doing all year. And, one bad punt can kind of swing it to make people think that he's off or he's inconsistent. It's just not the case. But that was a great punt. The one where he hit to our left, where they called the returner fair personal foul, was a great punt. A couple inside the 50s were great punts. But that was a bomb. And you'd love for it to, lucky bounce, but it didn't. You take the 47 net.
And Brett Maher just continues to be consistent, both field goals, kickoffs. He's talked about how he uses the imagery and practice routine are very important for him in terms of just getting his mind right for the task at hand. Have you learned about kind of his mental approach, his mental conditioning that is behind his craft?
Yeah, it's been awesome, and his routine has been totally influenced just by him. So when we got together, I said, hey, what days do you like to kick? Thursday, Friday. How much do you want to kick on each day? And he let me know. So we basically structured everything to what he feels he needs to be his best on Sunday. But he's got a great routine, kind of like Brian does. Brian likes to go Wednesday, Thursday. Brett likes to go Thursday, Friday. So we kind of structure it to that. But they're both very professional, have very detailed plans on what they want to do every day they're going to kick, volume-wise, situational-wise. So it's been really cool, and I'm really proud of Brett this past game because after that first snap where, Doing's off the holder and it's like, hey, to get the operational confidence back was outstanding on some big kicks. So that's part of the mental conditioning too. Like, okay, hey, stay locked in, we're going to be okay. We just had a timing error, and he did it, and he made some big kicks, so cool for him.
Hey, Bones, Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Having spent so much time with the Rams in the past, on Sunday with the successful fake, it kind of felt like they fossil. So kind of
Yeah.
a two-part question. One, from your standpoint, what kind of went wrong on that play? Was it just the risk of going after the block? And the second part of the question is, did the competitive part of you kind of feel after that, like, hey, I hope I have a chance later in the game to kind of get them back for that?
Yeah, nah, I've never been a revenge guy at all. So when they got it, I'm like, that was a good one. But we actually had a return call on, and our guys did a great job. If I could run it back, we had a couple guys holding guys up. We had one guy rushing to kind of force a punt, and we had two guys kind of zoning it from the back end. And if I could redo it, I would have had to man it. But based on the return schematics, it really called for a zone it with the two extra stack bodies compared to two guys who would man it. And it's a decision I got to make during the weekend. We zoned it, and they hit the fake in between a short zone dropper and a deeper zone dropper. And if you look at the tape, Sam Williams was one of our rushers, and he jumps up, and the ball must have missed by inches for a batted pass. But it didn't, and they got a good one on us, and that was I've been on that side of it, and sometimes I said fakes are based on looks, fakes are based on desperation, and I don't know what it was for them, but it's a good one. It's a good one.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio.
Hey,
The
Brad.
kickoff returner was bailing out so early. Did you ever think about, well, if I get another one, I'm dropping one in behind him somewhere?
Yeah, we did. Yep. The thing is, too, you love to compete in the kick and kickoff return world, but teams they kind of meet you halfway. They can't put their toes at the goal line and say, I'm only going to bring it out if you put it on the plus 2 yard line, because that's a very favorable kickoff. And the same thing goes for us. If they hit it to us 2 or 3 deep, we'll take the football out and we'll play. But yeah, he was bailing out very fast. And we didn't want to just give him a football to return on the plus 4 yard line, because he's a good returner too. And we're not afraid to compete, but meet us halfway. If we hit it too deep, come on, bring that thing out. But But it was one of those games where the ball was flying good, I think, for both kickers, and it would have been fun to see some kickoff return competition. But as the season goes, I've come to know that the balls get colder and the legs get tired, and a lot of the kickoff return competition comes more in the second half of the season.
Sam Williams, we asked Quinn about him and McCarthy about him. We both talked about the kind of jumps that he's making. I'm just curious at special teams, what have you seen from him? And even in your phase, do you see him kind of making more of those strides?
Yeah, it's been cool to see Sammy. He plays 3 phases for us, everything except punt. He could play punt, but we keep him to 3 phases. And you can see him gaining some confidence and also some attention to professional details, just the nuances of all the different phases on special teams and what's my alignment on punt return, who am I attacking on kickoff, how do I leverage block on kick return. So there's a lot of things in play that on the special teams, there's a lot of unique things that maybe he just hasn't been accustomed to coming out of college. But he's growing in his attentiveness to some of those details. And he's a really good player, man. So I think he's going to continue to ascend and be a bigger factor for us here in the second half of the season. It's been cool to watch him grow as a pro.
All right.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Good football talk.